Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kidder again. Thank you for checking in. It's also my birthday today, but I don't have anything to do during the daytime, so I think I'm just gonna make a video to respond to one of the email that I got from my YouTube viewer. And he was kind of struggling to change his career from a developer to a designer. And he was talking with his friends about that, and his friend is really negative about the idea of changing from a web dev to a UI designer. So I'm just gonna answer some of the questions, and he just want to get some opinion. I mean, second opinion. So I'm just gonna go from question to questions and answer that based on my kind of knowledge, right? But before I start this, I do want to mention that there are different tiers of developer and designer as well. So you gotta compare tier to tier. What I would categorize is like if you're a web developer that does only like HTML and CSS, that's the first level. And if you're a web developer that also do, let's say, JavaScript, React.js and stuff like that, that's the second level. And if you're a third level is the person that full stack dev, right? So they do backend and then they do front end as well. So they know JavaScript, they know React.js, they know Ruby on Rails, Nodes and all that, right? And that's a full stack dev. So we'll say that's the third level of developer. And same as designer, right? There are graphic designer, and then the first level like does like like brochure, does like poster design and stuff like that. And the second level is the people that does web design as well, like making websites and all that. And then the third level, I would say it's a product designer. So they think about the big picture. How do you design a product? How do you think about user experience and designing user interface and stuff like that? I would say that's the third tier of designer. So you gotta compare, like tire to tire, right? So that's the thing. Let's go into his questions right now. So the first one he asked is, companies would like to hire another engineer instead of another designer. To some level, I think that's correct. I mean, if you're talking about finding a job with the startups, right? A lot of my startup clients right now, before they come to me, right, they will have a backend team, they will have a developer team to build the product to a point where they cannot go a level higher without designer to kind of spice it up and then launch it, right? So to some level, yeah, people hire another engineer instead of a designer because some engineer they may know how to put things together. And right now, I mean, online, right? Even if you're looking at like React code, they have some out of the package code. So once when you implement it, you already have the interface as well, so you don't need to restyle it. So a lot of business owner they're just gonna hire engineer instead of a designer to the very last point. So yeah, to some level that's true. The second question is there are less jobs in the market for designer than developer. For the job wise, as what I just said, I think that's true because people will hire developer first, and you definitely need in a company, right? You definitely need more developer in the company to fix code and keep building it than a designer. Just like the startup I'm running right now, I'm the only designer that handling all the front end code and design and all that, right? But I have four developer working at the same time on the project. So one designer versus four developer. That's pretty much like the usual how the level is engineer versus designer. And the third point is the hard skills that are acquired by developer are more valuable in the job market. I think that's somewhat true as well. I mean, a lot of developer I work with, right? They went to school 4 years for this kind of thing, like to study and become to become a developer. But for a lot of my designer friends, they only go to school for 1 year or they only learn by themselves, like what I would suggest, right? I think designers, they're really like, you have to be talented to be a designer. I'm not saying that you don't have to be talented to be a developer, but for designer, it's really about like your visual sense. So a lot of people don't value that. I mean, if me and you look at the same painting, right? You may say that looks horrible. I may say that looks great. So it really depends on like what kind of people do you talk to, right? But for developer, it's really straightforward. You code it out, it works, people use it, they're happy, then you're great, right? So like I think for the most part, people do value the engineering side of skills more than the design side of skills. But if you're talking about like you're working at a design shop and design agency, right? Like the agency I used to work for, the owner is a designer, the whole team is a designer. Definitely, they value design so much more. So again, it depends on who you're talking to, what kind of thing are you trying to, like, what kind of people are you trying to attract. And the last question is, going from a web developer role to a designer role is going to be a trade-off. I do not agree with this. From a money perspective, I think it'll be a trade-off because, I mean, if you're a really top engineer going to a designer, maybe actually no. But well, in general, in the market, I would say developer get paid a bit more than a designer. If you're talking about startup jobs in San Francisco, a top-end developer may get paid somewhere around like 150K to even like 200K. A designer may get somewhere around from 100K to 150K. So the money is a bit less. But again, I think your career, if you're talking about changing a career, right? It's not just about the money, right? You have to do something you enjoy. If deep down, if you think that you're really creative and you don't like to code that much and you kind of get stuck there, then I would say definitely change it. I mean, you don't want to get stuck in a thing that you don't like to do for your whole life, right? You need to find what you love to do and what you're interested in. But I think a lot of point from your friends is really targeting to the money side of things. So if it's really care about, if you're purely doing it just for the money, I don't know. I think you should stick with the developer routes because most of the developer I know, they get paid more than a designer. So if you're just talking about money, then yeah, for sure, go with the developer routes. But if you're talking about, I mean, like, what you love to do, right? And I do think that if you're a really top-end designer, you will get paid more than a developer. So designers is all about like how do you design stuff and people love to use and all this like visual things and your talents and all that, right? And I would say that a designer, a top-end, a really world-class designer, it's super hard to combine. I mean, I can find a designer that does like really good. I mean, I can find an engineer that does really good work easier than a designer that does really good work. So if you're talking about like the money sense, if you're a super high-end designer, you would get paid more because like Google would want to look for those guy to pay him really well to design those things, right? Because only he can do it. But Google will not pay so much money for an engineer to do what many other engineer can do, right? So if you love design, then yeah, go for it. I think you got to be top end. You got to be high end designer. If you're not high end, then you're gonna stuck with the mediocre work and not getting paid a lot. But I think if you love design, you gotta shoot yourself for the best, right? Like you gotta improve your skill and try to be the best. At least like better than 70% or 80% of the designers out there if you want to be really good. So again, that's all my questions. That's all my answer to your questions. I think do what you love. I mean, just like Steve Jobs, right? He said that you gotta love what you do, right? To do great work, you gotta love what you do. So I believe that if you're really thinking about changing from a developer to a designer, you gotta do what you love, and that's the only way that you can do great work. And once when you get do great work, right? I believe that you can achieve so much more. So hope you like the content, hope you like what I said, hope my advice is helpful. I hope that I help you to make the decision, but if not, then yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, so if you guys have any other questions, feel free to just leave a comment down below, or I mean, send me an email. I'm happy to answer those if I can. And like this video and subscribe to my channel as well. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.